Hey everyone. So Angie, the South African National Defence Force and the police can honestly keep talking this big talky, saying that everything's under control, everything's fine. But the news reports coming out at the moment and the fact that G20 is a mere 2 weeks away, the audit report findings shows and tells a very different story. In my last video, I highlighted G20 venue was breached. Some guy walked right in. That brought to light the fact that South Africa doesn't have a bomb safety standard. We're going to host the top economies, world leaders in our country. Our police are embroiled in some corruption scandal. Guys are walking in and out of venues. And we don't have a bomb safety standard. Yay us, viva ANC, as I like to say. So in true ANC style, it doesn't stop there. Breaking this weekend is the fact that China has invested 500 million rand into the Brug military site with no parliament oversight or proper processes. But would you believe, I'm going to give you a cherry on a cherry for this one, the Brug was the military site that was robbed a couple of months ago. And to add to that, the military did nothing about it. It was private security and the local community who eventually reported it. Now, if that doesn't make your blood run cold, I can't help you. But honestly, this for me is shocking to think that we can continue to live in la-la land and not face the facts which are plain day in front of us. Come on, ANC, you really need to snap out of this delulu world you're living in and face the fact that you are now having to hardcore look at the consequences of your incompetence and have to actually acknowledge it. So join me for this ramble where I take you through this Chinese involvement in our military site and what exactly is happening now with SANDF? Because their recent audit report also came out. I've read their previous audit report. I can promise you one thing, nothing's changed. Join me, let's ramble. Friday, the DA issued a report saying, DA alarmed by SANDF breach of protocol, Chinese involvement in operations. His 24 then consequently had a article break on Sunday. Chinese technicians are involved in classified infrastructure upgrades at the Brug and have been consulted for maintenance of critical SANDF vessels. DA is alarmed over serious breaches of defense protocol, oversight and sovereignty stemming from clandestine Chinese military involvement in SANDF operations, including the secretive project Zingisa at the Brug and the opaque 100 million military aid agreement signed in Beijing in 2024. Lots of little dealings back and forth. It is now apparent that Chinese technicians are involved in classified infrastructure upgrades at the Brug and have been consulted for maintenance of critical SANDF vessels, including frigates and submarines originally supplied by European manufacturers. Any unauthorized foreign intervention represents a serious violation of defense sector protocols. But we continue to push the line, and we continue to push the line, and we continue to push the line. This is a horrific violation of South Africa's right to safety. The absolute disrespect coming from the ANC and how they are treating us. So, furthermore, the 100 million aid agreement, which equates to 260 million rand, signed without parliamentary consultation in September 2024, remains undisclosed in both content and oversight. This pattern of backroom deals, classified deployments, and diplomatic appeasements is undermining South Africa's military sovereignty and constitutional accountability. Yet, the ANC love to talk about sovereignty, but only when it means that their pockets are being filled. Sovereignty doesn't count when everyone benefits from it. Just remember this when Fikile and Rama and whoever else wants to use the word sovereignty. They are literally selling out to the Chinese and the Iran. So think about how much the ANC are selling out our defenses, our security, our safety to Iran and China, bit to Russia as well. The thing is that their audit reports continue to show mass amounts of waste and overspending, irregular spending, no accountability. And this is an article from DefenceWeb saying SA's defense forces spending more, delivering less. South Africa's armed forces remains hamstrung by poor management, slow reform, and deteriorating capability, despite spending 51.8 billion rand in the last financial year. Persistent flaws in procurement, asset management, and financial reporting. Auditors said that a slow and inadequate response to previous findings undermines both fiscal discipline and the DoD's constitutional mandate to protect the country. But I don't think the ANC understand what mandate, constitution, or sovereignty actually means. For people who are so good at being corrupt, they sure are stupid. And keep this in mind, by the way. So, persistent flaws in procurement, asset management, and financial reporting. Keep that in mind because you'll see why. Auditors were unable to verify the location or value of large swaths of movable assets, including Roycat armored reconnaissance vehicles and Mamba Mk3 troop carriers, missing from the register altogether, and some were listed at the wrong value. This is in their last financial report. I've read their previous financial report, almost word for word, the exact same problem. Irregular expenditure reached 123.8 million. Non-compliant tenders, including an alternative payment solution for South African Air Force fuel and airport services. Long-running breaches in Project Tusano and various other contracts that ignored procurement rules cost us, the taxpayer, 123.8 million rand. Overspending on personnel pushed up unauthorized expenditure to 2.5 billion, a slight improvement on the previous year, but still a breach of Public Finance Management Act. Failing in your constitutional mandate, breaching Public Finance Management Acts. Honestly, just do whatever you please. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Use of troops to protect Eskom power facilities and clamp down on illegal mining was why the personnel expenditure increased. But that is because you have literally destroyed the absolute core of the defense force. And now you have to outsource any sort of competence and ability. This is a consequence of your action. Fruitless and wasteful spending, mainly late payment interests, unused software licenses, and equipment stood at about 492 million. And I can agree because I've seen it, little changed from the previous year. The department, so now remember I told you to remember that thing, procurement issues, etc. This is why. The department's 22.6% vacancy rate in senior posts, including accounting officer, chief audit executive, and head of procurement, is another break on accountability, which is why they're having all the issues. The internal audit unit has a 69% vacancy rate, which means that many of its recommendations go unimplemented. The Air Force continues to have aircraft grounded, owing to patchy maintenance contracts, much of it linked to problems at Denel. Poor contract enforcement, yes, and that, by the way, is across every single government department. Shortages of prime mission equipment has forced the DoD to rely more heavily on reserve forces, inflating personnel costs without resolving capability gaps. And really, I can't find it now, but I did come across it yesterday, and I know Angie says it all the time. The military's underfunded. The military's underfunded. The military's underfunded. Angie, my advice to you, darling, is if you're managing a black hole of incompetence, you will always be underfunded because there is no amount of funding that can handle your sheer incompetence. Okay, so why don't you do better with the funds you have? Start showing some improvement on your irregular and unauthorized expenditure. So with that almost 52 billion rand spending, it achieved only 50% of its service delivery targets. And reporting on key veterans benefits, such as subsidized public transport and housing support, was found to be unreliable. The budget for veterans has been cut to absolute shreds over the years. Drastic decreases in veteran grants. Shocking that we expect these guys to secure our borders and do the work that they are probably doing with great passion. And when they look up at their leaders, all they get to see is Angie's face. And then to find out that your war veteran grant has been slashed to pieces. All of that spending, 52 billion rand, cutting veteran grants left, right, and center. The DoD's finances are in a state of complete disarray, reported the DA. The personnel budget overshot by 2.5 billion, while critical posts remain vacant. Yet travel and subsistence costs exploded to 2.37 billion rand. So to enforce the fact that Angie lives in Delulu world, here, global collaboration on military accountability strengthened at Military Ombuds Conference, which happened in early October. But Madam Angie actually mentioned that awareness of ombuds institutions is a cornerstone of citizen engagement. Many people, especially those who face challenges with public service delivery, often do not know where to turn for help or recourse. Angie, have you seen your failing ministry? I don't know if we could even begin to rely on you actually resolving anything when you have a 69% vacancy in your audit department and nothing from the reports gets implemented. So sure, we can turn to the ombuds for service, for recourse. But whether or not you actually get around to putting it in place or, resolving it is another question. Kind of like you're still trying to resolve transformation. Angie says the Ombuds institution plays a vital role in safeguarding the rights and interests of our citizens, especially those who feel voiceless in the face of complex government structures and processes. She says it almost like it's not her, it's the boohoo, hey, complex government structures. I can't do anything about that. I'm just a minister after all. I get paid to stand up on stage and read speeches word for word that honestly is in complete contradiction to the very leadership I show to the people putting their lives on the line. The hypocrisy is real, Angie. Please start looking at yourself in the mirror because it's disgusting. And here is why this is important. Because there is $18 trillion of seaborne trade. China controls 2 of the 3 critical choke points. Cape Town, Simonstown, it's a lifeline for oil and goods, especially if the Suez Canal is compromised in some way. Then the easiest and fastest next route is past Simonstown. The debt South Africa already has with China is a problem. To now find out that they're investing another 500 million in a military site that was just robbed. $25 billion already invested in South Africa. Discussions underway for a further $10 billion upgrading Durban's ports. Chinese intentions are clear. The Beijing's playbook offer $590 million in loans for 10-year military base lease could easily be replicated in Simonstown. The thing is, countries like Kenya and Zambia are already struggling with crippling debt, and South Africa's $22 billion debt to China could follow a similar path, made worse by dangerously high debt to GDP ratio of 75%. Taking into account the fact that Cyril has taken multiple loans from the EU, the World Bank, as well as the African Development Bank. We actually took money from our other African sisters. We said, you know what, we're the economic powerhouse, but we continue through sheer incompetence and corruption, need you to fund us. Just a biggie, net a biggie, Aish, net a biggie. Just a bit more. Now just think about it. We have the ripplings of some protests being discussed. A G20 sign was vandalized over the weekend. It's covered in red spray paint, so everyone's saying it's a white person thing because whites use spray paint and blacks use destruction and fire. Whatever. I'm not going to get involved in that discussion. So with all of these points, we have a Brug military site robbed. The military don't know about it. Private security deals with the matter. Then to find out that with no oversight or parliament involvement, 500 million has been invested by the Chinese into that very military site. Simonstown Military Base was also robbed earlier this year. Then to find out, G20, a man walks into the venue, security breached. South Africa doesn't have a safety standard. The department spends almost 52 billion rand, but only achieves 50% of its targets. Much of its assets cannot be accounted for. But Angie has the absolute balls and cheek to be like, oh, but we're underfunded. You can't fund corruption. There is no actual amount in the entire world to fund the bottomless pit that is your pocket, Angie and ANC. But this really is a problem for South Africa. Because of where we're at the moment, we're showing clear as day BFF vibes with Russia, Iran, China, but we're desperate for a trade deal with the USA. Then to find out that the USA is not even going to attend the G20. And I want to see how many other parties fall off, because they would rather be friends with Trump than friends with Cyril. And honestly, I can't blame them. If I had the choice, I would do that too. Clear as day, there is one thing. The ANC will bend over backwards and do whatever anyone wants if the price is right. Because they are selling themselves out to the highest bidder with absolutely no insight or capability for quality, longevity, growth, long-term. Plan now, build for the future. Yeah, good one, ANC, good one. I hope you guys enjoyed spending this time with me. I enjoyed making this video for you. If you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really does support my channel. YouTube gives me a boost, and I kid you not, it financially benefits me, but it costs you nothing. Also, drop a comment, drop a like. If you know anything about G20 and security and all the rest, I would love to hear from you. Huge shout out to Nikki and Paul, members of the Nick's Rambles Club. Appreciate the support, guys. You have no idea. It really does mean so much to me. If any of you guys want to join the club, make sure to hit the join button. It's $14.99 a month, price of a small Coke. It really does help support me in getting these videos out. I hope you guys have a good week. Over and out.